Hey everyone, it's Kristen. So this video is for Monday and Tuesday. So for Monday, we have Valkyrie, which I know that we just talked about her extensively. So if you want to know more about her, I'll put the link to that video in the description. And then for Tuesday, oh, speaking of cats, hey Dazzler. Yeah, hi. Oh, you're so cute. Speaking of cats, Tuesday is a black cat. Silly kitty cat. Are you gonna go sleep in your tray while I do this video? Like normal? Okay, well, or you're just gonna sit in front of the camera. Okay, come here, kitty. Come here. There you go. Okay, anyway, so Black Cat. She's actually my one of my favorite Spider-Man characters. Oh, she left. She's actually one of my favorite Spider-Man characters because, of course, my love for superheroes started with when I discovered the X-Men animated series, the original animated series. And from there, I heard that the Spider-Man 90s animated series had a crossover episode with the X-Men. So, of course, I had to watch that. And then from there, I really fell in love with that series too. So I watched all of that. And I really enjoyed Black Cat. I really liked her character. I thought she was really cool and different. And there weren't a lot of female characters, in that show, especially not ones with superpowers. So I thought she was really cool. I will say when I started, collecting comics and reading them, of course, she is portrayed differently in the cartoon because the cartoon is geared towards kids. And, uh, a lot of what she went through. Well, of course, this is back in the 90s, so a lot of the stuff she went through wouldn't have been an issue back then. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, she first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man 194. I think that was like in 79. And she donned the Black Cat costume in order to get her father, Walter Hardy, a famous cat burglar, out of prison. And that night she also met Spider-Man. And the story is she fell in love with him like almost instantly, and she kept being the Black Cat in order to attract his attention. She, like I said, she was in love with Spider-Man, not really Peter Parker. I mean, that seems to be the case a lot. Like, Catwoman in the cartoons was in love with Batman, not so much Bruce Wayne. Lois Lane, loved Superman, not so much Clark Kent. It just, it seems to happen quite a bit. Anyway, so she didn't have powers. She staged her crime scenes in order to make it seem like she had, bad luck powers. She actually ended up in a mental institution at one point, but she escaped. And in order to kind of prove herself to Spider-Man, she stole this powerful detonator device from Kingpin, and other criminals wanted it too, like Dr. Octopus. She stole it so they couldn't have it and gave it to Spider-Man. Unfortunately, of course, Dr. Octavius, he retaliated, and she ended up in the hospital because she had been shot a lot of times. They got to the hospital in time, or Spider-Man, Peter got her to the hospital in time, and he realized that he really did care for her. And he sees the good in her and that she's trying to do good. So they start a relationship. And Felicia starts to worry that since she doesn't have powers, she might be a liability to Spider-Man. So she goes to the Kingpin, and he gives her powers in a trade-off for a job she does for him. So, and her powers are basically, he gives her bad luck powers, the stuff that she said she had all along. But what really It is. It actually rubs off on people. Um, and it rubs off on Spider-Man specifically, and that was Kingpin's plan all along because he wanted to, jinx Spider-Man, cause him to have bad luck, and etc. So, and she doesn't tell Spider-Man this because, well, I mean, of course, at this point, he's revealed to her that he's actually Peter. And she doesn't understand the need he has for having like this double life, like being a civilian. To her, it's pointless. Like I said, she's in love with Spider-Man, not Peter. So at that point, she doesn't tell him about the deal she made with Kingpin. She's kind of embarrassed and ashamed that she went to Kingpin, Spider-Man's enemy, for help and in order to get these powers. So this secret kind of builds a wall between them and they drift apart. And then Peter breaks up with her. So Peter goes to Doctor Strange in order to remove this like curse that he thinks is on him because he has all this bad luck. So when Doctor Strange removes the what they think is a hex, it actually changes Black Cat's powers into actually cat-like powers, like retractable claws, enhanced speed, agility, endurance, all that strength, all that stuff. So at that point, Black Cat had disappeared. She, had gone off to, oh, no. Okay, so what happens is she gets back with Peter, moves into his apartment, and apparently it's all a ruse because she's actually dating a mercenary, an assassin called Foreigner, but she feels remorse about it. She feels bad about it, so she feels bad about it, and she leaves Peter a note, and she like disappears. So she says she's going to Paris to start a new life, which, I mean, there are worse places to go than Paris to start over. So she goes to Paris, and then she comes back, but since she left, and she pushed Peter away, along comes MJ, Mary Jane, and so she and Peter, of course, form a relationship, and they get married. And when Felicia comes back, she's furious that he's married to MJ now. And she, vows that she's going to break them up and that she hates Mary Jane and she threatens her, like, with physical harm. And she dates Flash Thompson just to get back at Peter. And, it's revealed that Flash basically is only dating her because she's Spider-Man's ex, and of course Flash idolizes Spider-Man. And so and it's interesting because Black Cat proposes to Flash and he turned her down, saying, the only reason really I was dating you was because you were Spidey's ex. So they don't really love each other, but they do care about each other, but not enough to actually, like, I would say, get married. So, Black Cat and Spider-Man, kind of team up every so often. She still, steals, kind of on that thin line of being a hero, anti-hero sort of thing. One of my favorite stories featuring her, even though it's a really messed up story. Like, I'm not being like, oh, it's such a fun story, you should read it. No, it's kind of messed up. It's The Evil That Men Do by Kevin Smith, like the Kevin Smith from Clerks and stuff like that. And it's interesting because because I didn't discover it until later, which I'm glad I didn't, because apparently the first 3 issues came out, 2002, and then he got so busy that the 4th issue, because it's 6-issue miniseries, didn't come out until like 2005, like the end of 2005. So I'm glad I didn't know about it at the time, because I would have been pretty upset that there was this like almost 3-year gap waiting for the 4th issue. Anyway, it's a good story, but it's messed up. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, it's not a feel good kids story for sure. It is messed up. So yeah, don't like recommend it for kids or anything at all. So after Civil War happened and Peter revealed his identity to everyone, Felicia was kind of upset about that because she thought that this was this secret that only they knew, that they, were bonded over, and so she was irritated that he, revealed the secret to everyone when she thought she was special because he had only revealed it, obviously to just a handful of people, and she was one of them. So Spider-Man actually gets kidnapped, and Mary Jane comes to Felicia and says, I need your help. So after they rescue Spider-Man, they actually kind of become friends, kind of not, but kind of. And then Felicia starts dating Matt Murdock, but really she's not dating him because she wants to steal something that belongs to him. And, this kind of a little bit of a pattern for her. She feels bad though, again, and she warns him in a note, and she, again, she leaves. She disappears. When she reappears, she sees Spider-Man, like they're cool, they're friendly. And but it's not Spider-Man, it's Superior Spider-Man, which is actually Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man's body, his mind in Spider-Man's body. And so when Dr. Octopus sees her, he kind of is reminded of the fact that she stole that device that he was going to steal from Kingpin, from them, basically. And he straight up punches her in the face, and she loses a tooth. And she's like, oh my gosh, what the heck? What is going on? Because she has no idea what's going on. Like, she doesn't know that, he's actually there instead of Peter. And he strings her up in his webbing and basically hands her over to the police. And she is humiliated. Like, she can't believe that this has happened to her. She thought Spider-Man and, she thought they were cool and they were friends, but apparently, she really doesn't know what's going on. So she eventually breaks out of prison, forms an alliance with Electro, and she's furious. She wants revenge on Spider-Man. So she goes after Spider-Man and on camera tries to reveal his identity, but Silk comes along, and another Spider-Man character, which I won't start talking about because, I'm trying to wrap Black Cat up. So anyway, Silk comes along, saves him. They defeat Black Cat and Electro together, and so she kind of slinks back, into the shadows. And then, okay, this is the part I really don't like. She becomes like this big crime boss, and she's ruthless, and she kills people and threatens them, and she kidnapped Aunt May because Aunt May had an object that once belonged to her, and she stole back all the things that were taken from her when she went to prison. And she ends up setting them all on fire because she's like, things are not going to define me. I'm not going to be ruled by things, by greed, basically. And kind of the mentality of, if I can't have them, if someone, takes them from me, no one can have them. And this is kind of to say to everyone, you steal from me, this is what you get, sort of thing. So, yeah. And Spider-Man kind of, tries to talk her down, but he's like, what is with you? This is not you. And she's like, the girl you knew, she's gone. This is who I am now. I'm tired of people telling me, what to do, who to be. This is who I am. Because she has realized that her powers, because she got her bad luck powers back at some point, like I don't remember exactly when, and she realizes that the more ruthless she is, the better her powers work in her favor. So, oh goodness. And then one of her gang members, her squad, this ex-Army Ranger Lee Price actually steals a symbiote and bonds with it and realizes that he can reproduce this symbiote and use the symbiotes to control people. So there's this huge all-out war, and Spider-Man and Anti-Venom come, Flash Thompson, come and help her, and they realize that once, you've been infected and then unaffected, then you can't be affected again, so they use Spider-Man's blood, to create this antidote, and anyway, so after that, Eddie Brock kind of talks her out of being a crime boss and tells her she should go back to just being a vigilante because it's not her. So she kind of thinks about it, and she has this heart to heart with Spider-Man and says, after Doctor Strange made everyone forget, your identity, I feel like I lost a piece of myself. Because, of course, after One More Day, we all know that story because it breaks up Peter and Mary Jane. And so after they broke up, he and Black Cat dated off and on for a little bit until she became a hardened criminal, basically. So they dated off and on, and then, but after One More Day, she had memories of Peter, Spider-Man, but she didn't have memories of Peter, and so she said to Peter, I felt like a piece of me was missing, and that's when this darkness started. So Peter kind of revealed to himself to her again, and then everything is kind of good, I guess. I don't know. It was, it was a little bit of a weird jumping off story, but okay. But anyway, she, like I said, interesting. She's gone through a lot. The 90s version of her, the cartoon version, will always be my favorite because she's just innocent in a way in that, and that's kind of how I like my heroes, I guess. Which, it's comic books, so of course none of them are really innocent anymore. So you kind of have to, Of course I say that, but then the Evil That Men Do, for some reason that story, I guess just because how dark it is, it just made me my jaw drop and just be whoa. I think that's why it grabbed my attention. But I really like her. I recently purchased a whole bunch of covers, variant covers of hers, which I guess I'll do a video about that. They mostly feature cats on the cover because I like cats. I mean, just so features her with cats, most of them. So I guess I'll probably do a video of those. Just like I said, I just like her character, and the fact that they featured cats on the cover. I mean, I've talked about the variant cover industry before, how it gets you to buy a lot of comic books that you wouldn't necessarily buy, which is totally true for me, which, yeah. I'm almost ashamed that I fell for that gimmick, but I did. So, anyway, I'll do a video on those later. And, okay, so for this, we have, okay, and I was like, oh, okay, of course. So it's the Plunderer, which you might be thinking, why does that sound familiar? Yes, this guy is related to Kevin Plunder, Kazar. It's his younger brother. And, okay, I feel like one of the reasons he became a villain is his first name is Parnabal. It's spelled like carnival, but with a P. So I'm thinking it's pronounced Parnabal. That's a pretty unusual, probably got made fun of when he was a kid name. Anyway, so, he thinks his brother's dead, and when he discovers he's alive, he uses the castle plunder, their family home, to establish his criminal enterprises. And when he discovers that his brother is alive, he comes after him because he wants something that belonged to their father. He wants like Khazar's part of this key, this device that can control the properties of metal, and would this metal or this key makes like vibranium like melt other metals. It's very interesting, very, out there kind of thing. So of course they clash, and of course, like most people that come to the Savage Land that don't have good intentions, he wants to exploit the Savage Lands. He wants to, use the materials, the minerals there, especially vibranium. Like I said, most people that come to the Savage Lands exploit it. Let me do this before I finish with him. So this is from Master of Kung Fu 18, June 74. Also appears in Master of Kung Fu number 21, October 74. Fantastic Four 153, December 74. And this comes from Tales to Astonish 96, October 76. Art by Dan Atkins. And it features Namor, the Submariner. So, and again, they just changed the background so that he stands out more and pulled the image in closer. So, what he is, I will say, most known for is he made a deal with Thanos to get the machinery that has transformed the Savage Land into the Savage Land. Because remember, the Savage Land was discovered by, their Khazar, Kevin and Parnival's dad. But it's in the Antarctic, so it shouldn't be there, shouldn't exist. So he wants the machinery that transformed the Savage Land into the Savage Land, and because he's going to use it to terraform the Earth, so that he can rule over it and terraform other planets and basically hold everyone hostage, saying, hey, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to use these devices and this machine to terraform your whole planet. And he promised Parnival that he could be ruler of Earth if he brought him these devices. And so he pretty much tortures his brother, tortures Shauna, kidnaps Matthew at one point, and then when they get Matthew back, Khazar goes to New York to find out what the heck is going on. Why does my brother hate me so much? Why does he want to kill me? One of the few times that Khazar goes to New York and leaves the Savage Land. And, and he actually was killed by Punisher, Parnival, when he thought he would join Captain America, I believe in Civil War. But really, it wasn't him. It was like an impersonator pretending to be him that he sent, to pretend to be him. So anyway, yeah, the Plunderer. That's even awkward to say, but it's interesting that he's in here. But it makes sense. Shauna was in here, Khazar is in here, so it makes sense that he's in here too. Anyway, so. That's the video for Monday, Tuesday. I was glad that Dazzler joined us, even though it was like super brief, but it was still fun to see her. So I hope you will join me for the next video. Until then, bye.